This is the Stage Manager ClearComm box. The reason why it exists is because there are multiple people that need to talk backstage to each other, and having too many voices means that there's no clarity. So for instance, the lighting designer is trying to talk to their board operator and their assistant lighting designer, and potentially their spotlight operators, and anyone else they need to be talking to. Lighting designer during tech specifically, and also during dress rehearsals, is constantly talking. And so the stage manager will have a lot of difficulty talking to their assistant stage manager or their fly operator or anyone else that's on the comm. So they have to be separated out into what we call different channels. And so this box allows us to do that. That's why it's so important. There are currently, the way that we have it set up is that the channel A, which is this first channel here, and I'll zoom in on this so you can see it in a second. Channel A is for the actors, because if they hear everything that's going on backstage all the time, they tune out. And so what we like to do here is to pipe any kind of amplified sound into the monitors. This doesn't really work for straight plays because people are not generally microphoned for straight plays. So you won't be able to hear the dialogue over the monitors backstage. But for a musical, you can take anything that is being piped into the soundboard and send that through to the dressing room so they can hear where they're at in the show. This is very important. You just have to ask your sound designer to be able to do that. And if they don't know how to do it, you need to contact Travis Pagel, who can do that quite easily. You just need to request that. So in channel A, we don't want to hear everyone talking about everything. We only want to use channel A when we want to tell the actor something, like I need so-and-so to come upstairs, please, or something went wrong with the quick change. Can we have everybody involved in that report to the stage? So channel A wants to be reserved for actors only and used in cases where they need to be talked to. Channel B is there's a handy list that will be given to you, but channel B is the lighting network. And so on this, everyone can talk on lighting, and the stage manager can turn them off if they want to, which is very useful. And so these buttons turn orange when activated and remain blue when not activated. So if the stage manager had all these buttons on, they would be able to hear everything or talk to everything. I'm sorry, they'd be able to talk to everything. There are also listen buttons. If they're green, you can hear what's going on, whereas if you're tired of hearing the light designer, you can turn that off so you can talk to your ASMs. C is generally reserved for the sound board and the music director. It can be used for other things as well, but that way the soundboard operator can talk to the music director on a private channel, and the stage manager can talk to them when necessary. Now, usually sound people or music people are not on headset, so they have to be flashed. There's a call button here, which will flash, see it turning red, it will flash their ClearComm. So it's always going to take a little bit of time for them to notice that. And channel D is generally your assistant stage managers and any of the wireless belt packs, any of your backstage crew, that kind of thing. There's a list for this. It's taped to the top of the board. But first I want to explain to you how this box works so that you understand. This is the stage manager box. It runs backstage, and I'll show you how to hook it up. But it runs backstage to a computer system called the Matrix. So the Matrix is essentially a computer. It runs on Windows 95. We don't know why, even though this was installed in the like 2012. It still runs on Windows 95. So it's very difficult to change. The person who knows how to change it is Travis Pagel. But he and I have worked out a system that works pretty well. From the Matrix, the computer, yes, I know, Matrix, quite funny, it goes to all the hook-in points throughout the stage, and I'm going to take you there later so that you know where they hook in. So backstage right, there's a number of plug-ins. Backstage left, any of the stereo boxes that you can hear what's going on channel A or D, any of those. Up in the catwalks, so if you've got a spotlight operator, there's places to plug in there. They talk on the lighting network. And the dressing room boxes. And you do need to adjust those dressing room boxes so they're on the correct channel on A, and so that the sound is turned all the way up on them. And I'll show you how to do that. So that's essentially how this works. Here's a quick review of what the different channels are. Now they are cross-listed, so there's 2 channels on each of the ClearComm boxes. So if you see here, this is what one of the general wired ClearComm boxes looks like. You can see that there is a talk A and a talk B. Now these will always say A and B because they're parts of the 2 channels, but based on where they're plugged in, talking to the matrix, they may actually be C and D, or A and D. I'll explain this a little bit more in detail. It's a little hard for people to wrap their minds around at first, but it's one of those things that once you get some people talking to you, it really does start to make sense. But A is the performers, C and D is the music director and sound, so they can talk to the ASMs and the stage manager. B is the lighting network, and A and D is the ASM and the wireless mics, / any fly operators, anyone backstage. Closer look at the box itself. So here you have what's called a panel mic and a mic on. In an ideal world, you would have a God mic attached to this console. There's no way for us to currently do that. It was never set up properly, and there's nothing Travis can do in order to get that to work. So if you need a God mic for a show, you have to request a wireless mic set up on a tripod from your sound designer. And that is usually a very useful thing to have. So there are other, this all talk button allows you to talk to everyone quickly. You can see how all of those changed. If you want to be able to just talk to everyone, have them hear you, there's this. I'm sure you'll be taught proper headset etiquette. Don't touch your mic while it is on. Do not set it down while it's on. Everybody makes mistakes, but it's really difficult when you're the stage manager to not finger the this part of it, because you can hear that on the headset if you finger the microphone part of it. So if these are off, you can always have all the listens on, but don't forget to toggle them as needed. And then there are these call buttons, as I talked about. There's a volume control here, and you always need to have a headset plugged in. There are different varieties of headset, which I will cover next. There's also adjustment levels here. So the listen level, someone may be really quiet, you can turn that up and down below here. So make sure you pay attention to that. Here are the different kinds of headsets. The first one is a Feather Light. This is good if headsets give you a bit of a headache, but it's bad if you're going to be in a loud area. I, as a lighting designer, am usually wearing one of these because I don't need the extra sound canceling in order to hear what I'm doing. And if you find yourself getting a headache, hopefully this will work for you. Many people who work backstage or the stage manager tend to prefer a single muff. So the single muff allows you to block out some more of that noise. It does pinch a little bit, but our headsets are pretty new, so it's not like at some theaters where they really crush your head. And they're a little bit more sturdy. And then for high noise areas, there's the double muff. The double muff does make it a little bit more difficult to communicate with other people around you, but it's ideal for someone, say, like a fly operator or the spotlight operator, who aren't going to need to talk to other people too much, but really need to hear their cue of when to go and stop. It also discourages people from talking to you if you're trying to focus on something. Finally, there's a kind that is not used very often. Some sound designers like to have the phone. And so they have this big giant button that lights up. I'm not going to get into how to hook this up because nobody's wanted this in a very long time. It's a specialized thing that I can explain to you at some point. But essentially then they would pick up the phone and press this button here to be able to talk to someone. That way they don't have to wear a headset at all, which would interfere with them hearing the sound that they need to be listening to at all times to adjust levels. Setting up the Stage Manager box starts simple and then gets quite complicated rapidly. First, you have a white wire that is stored downstairs. You never need to take this to the booth, ever, because there's a separate system upstairs to plug this in the same way. Travis Pagel set this up for us, so thank him the next time you see him. Each one of this, we call this a snake. It's a 3-pin Clearcom audio snake. Has labels on it, channel A, B, C, and D. You simply need to plug those in where it says A, B, that's kind of hard to see. It says B, I promise. And then C and D, you can't really see the label because it goes underneath here. But this is C, and this is D. The place to start is down below. So, forgive the movement of this microphone. I will have to pause in between. But this is where we are in the theater currently. There's the stage. We are not in the very back row, but we are in the second row, the one where the cement begins. Carpet, cement. You'll want to go to the very middle of that first cement row, which is where you will see me next. So here I am on the cement floor, in the middle of the first cement row. I'm going to take you over here to this panel. So you can see that it says, well, once it decides to focus, it says secondary mix position. You'll see a lot of different sound hookups here that you don't really need to concern yourself with. The ones you need to concern yourself with for this project are COM1. Oh, you can't see it. Let me get you a little closer. It's a little washed out. There we go. COM1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm having to not blow it out with my flashlight. So essentially here, the way that all of these chords work is you have to pinch down on the lever and pull backwards. Otherwise, it won't release. Here we have the female end. Female means whole. Male means there's some kind of protrusion. This is the terminology we use in lighting and sound. And so there's the male. Here's the female. I know it's very heteronormative. And so you plug that in until you hear a click. On the male end of this snake, there won't be one of these. That will be in the female socket on the back of the stage management box. It's always good to start here because then you make sure you get the right side. So there's really only one option here. But this end is the female end going into the panel. Purposes, here we are back at the panel. I am going to remove this. There's nothing to push down on. Here is the male end of the cable. You see how there's protrusions in there. So that's the one going into the back of the stage management box. But here's where things get a little complicated. Now we need to daisy chain from the back of the stage manager box to the lighting table. Because this is where the lighting designer is talking to the assistant lighting designer, the board operator, and any other people attached to the lighting system, such as the spotlight operator or any kind of electrician run crew that may exist. So as I've talked about before, lighting is on B. I do not also plug it in on the back for two reasons to D, because the stage manager is really the only person the lighting designer needs to talk to. And the stage manager has access on this box. D, you have the capability of talking to people on D, but it's usually best that the director be able to talk to anyone on D, all the stage managers, backstage run crew, and C, the music director and such. And since the limitations of this back of this box means that we need to choose
I choose that the lighting designer only gets plugged into B. And so what we have here is a color-coded cord. Each cord has an A, let's see if you can see that, an A side and a B side, because they're meant to plug into a 2-channel wired headset, like this. What happens when only one side is plugged in is that it squawks at you very, very, very loudly. So first I'm going to plug in the B side, which is actually A, just to confuse things a little bit, because it's actually plugged into A. It's going to go into the B side at the back of the box. This means that on the headset, A is the one that will be plugged in. So the stage manager can't talk about what channel people are on because they will never understand. You just have to tell them, based on their pack, which one they should use and tape over the other one as necessary, which is what we are going to do. So I will now plug in B with this end unattached. This double end goes into a 6-pin connector, which is the 2 different channels. So it's 3 pins per channel. And this is what plugs into, this is the headset, the wired belt pack. So here you can see it going in. The way to pull this out is there's a button on the bottom. Let me pull this closer to you. Lots of wires. There's a blue button right here. There you go, you can see it. To press on that and pull. You can't just yank this out. If ever you're yanking on something and it feels like you're hurting the cable, you're probably doing something wrong. And you always want to be careful when you're plugging this in that you match up the prongs with the holes so that you don't damage the prongs. This is where the daisy chaining comes in. What daisy chaining means is just like when you were a kid and you would take daisies and you would sort of hook one into the next and make a little crown and put it on your head. That is what daisy chaining is. So what you need is multiple 6 pins that go from one belt pack to another. I will show you what that looks like. Here is a second 6-pin cable. Here is our already plugged in first wireless belt pack. There's a second 6-pin here. Sorry, there's a second 6-pin here. This is a 4-pin for the headset. I will take the female end of my next cable, plug it into this end, and here's my extra cable, and then its male end will go into the next belt pack. Making sure to line up the holes. Now this belt pack will talk daisy chaining through each belt pack to one another. Because we only have one side of the splitter plugged in right now, and we have A plugged in, we can talk to other people using A, and you can see it lights up. A double press will have it stay on. A single press will only talk as long as you want to talk. The only people that should be double pressing are people who are constantly talking. Everyone else should only press as needed. You have to use your own judgment on this because you have to be careful about when you touch your face, when you touch your headset, who you're talking to, what you're doing, when you have your mic double-clicked on. There's also a call button here that lights up red so that you can call anyone else on your specific channel, so anyone on lighting. B, however, is not currently plugged in. So what happens when you press it is you get a really unpleasant sound. In order to combat this, we have to turn off this belt pack until it is completely off. Now it is off. And we don't want people to use that, so we need to tape over it. We tape over it by turning it all the way down and putting a piece of gaffer's tape over it. You need to do this for all of the lighting options. Now we are going to plug in the director's headset. Again, this is color-coded as red. We're going to plug in both ends so that they can talk to both the stage managers backstage, and they don't have to run backstage every time they need to talk to someone, or the music director who may be either down in the pit or at an inaccessible place on stage, or the soundboard op who is all the way at the top of the stairs. So I will plug this into D as directed, D and C. This, again, runs into one of these 6 pins. Which runs into the director's, also labeled, headset. We don't need to tape over anything because both sides will work. You just need to explain to them, A currently is C. So you just need to explain to them that A is their music director and B is their stage managers. I will label that on this headset right now. Here we go. A, music director. B, ASM/SM. Although the SM is on all channels, they just may not have them all turned on.